Working with Edge Animate, going to bring some sound into this. Again, using our web-friendly sound formats. So MP3 would work really nice. We can do audio groups if you follow the audio tutorial. Over here, it talks about using different audio groups and working with those. We're going to keep it simple and just work with MP3s and say that's good enough for our purposes. If we are trying to make something that is truly cross-browser friendly, then we would want to use an audio group and have multiple audio formats. But right now we're more concerned about just getting something done. So if I go under File, I can import, and now I can go and find, I've downloaded some files ahead of time. So I have a couple different MP3s that I've downloaded, and I can bring those in. So once I bring them in, what we notice is they show up in my library. They don't actually show up in my, I brought them in, it imports to the library. It doesn't import them into the stage, or I guess it did import them to the stage, but we don't see anything because how do we see sound? In this case, we can't see it unless we turn on its visibility. If we turn on its visibility, we see it gives us a playback bar. So we can say, hey, look, there's a playback bar for chunky sweetness. And now if I go to bionic condition, I can go and choose that and have a second playback bar. So I could put some text, I could identify those, and we could see that they're there and they work. And now if I take this project and play it, we can see they sit there. So if I click on those play buttons, they play their respective sounds. It's not really the best way of working with it, especially when we're just going to be building an animation. We probably don't need to put the audio controls up there. If you just have a soundtrack and you want to give the person the option to turn it on or off or something, maybe that would work. But if you have a variety of sounds, sound effects and music, voice, and other things you're going to put into your project, that's probably not going to be the best way of doing it. So I deleted those. I'll just drag out fresh copy. So if I put out a copy of Chunky Sweetness, we can see there's Chunky Sweetness. There's nothing there. It's turned off. If I click on its layer, it's not automatically starting to play. So if I look at my project here, we can see I test my project. Nothing's happening. Nothing's going on. If I click on autoplay for that layer, we can notice how it puts this chevron pattern here in the timeline indicating that the audio is going to be playing. Now, if I even just play my movie here inside Edge Animate, the sound is going to start playing. So we can see that, okay, that works. But sometimes you don't want the sound to just start playing. You want to control when it plays back. Maybe we even want to control the sound so it fades up, it fades out, so we have some more flexibility and control with it. So if I deselect autoplay, we see the chevrons went away. If I hit play, well, there's nothing to play. If I want the sound not to start at the beginning, but say to start at 1 second, so I drag my playback head to 1 second, so I'm now over at 1 second. On its layer, if I click on the little plus controlling its playback, I can choose play. And we can see at that point it added in the chevrons there. So now I hit play. The sound starts playing at 1 second. If I want the sound to stop at 2 seconds, I can go back under that same spot and choose pause. And we can see now how it's put a play and a pause inside my timeline. So now my sound will play for 1 second and start playing at 1 second. So we're able to control how the sound begins or doesn't begin within our project. So I have Chunky Sweetness in there. I'm going to add out my bionic condition and put that in. Currently it's not playing. And I think at half a second or 1 second, doesn't really matter when I choose it, where I choose it, but I'll just say, yeah, we'll just let it start right away. I can hit, I don't want to hit autoplay. I'll just say play, so it starts at that point. So now I have my 2 layers of sound. Now, on this layer, if I want to control this layer so that it fades up, if I want that layer to fade in so it doesn't just start playing right away. So, alright, let's... Now turning that up doesn't really matter. I'm just going to get rid of chunky sweetness for now and go back so I only... Okay, so we have one sound here, my bionic condition. But I want it to fade in. I don't want it just to hit that hard. To fade it in, what we can do is go to the beginning, and with that layer active, we see that we have an option for volume. So I can keyframe that volume and adjust it. Now, if we want to use the toggle pin, we can use that to kind of speed things up as part of our keyframing process. So I'm going to do it both with and without the toggle pin. The toggle pin is one of those, when it works, it's really, really useful, but I find it doesn't have a 100% success rate of if you don't do things in just the right step, it's like, well, that didn't work quite right. But if I turn on the toggle pin right now and say, okay, I want a keyframe, so I put in a starting keyframe for volume. And now I'll go half second or so out and then set the volume down. So what the toggle pin did is, without moving the playback head, we can see now it's at 0. It's going to go up to 100, and then it will be playing. So if I hit play, so it fades in. Now if that's too quick, we could always stretch this out to get a gentler fade in. So you can hear it, because half second fade up, that's hardly noticeable. 1 second you can usually hear. 1.5 to 2 seconds is where you, because now that's 1 second. 1.5 seconds is where you can really start to hear that fade up. So it makes it a little bit gentler, a little friendlier. So we can do it with or without the toggle pin. If the toggle pin is turned off, what I can do is I can insert a keyframe at my starting point, go to my ending point, insert another keyframe. Now I go back to the starting one and adjust it back down to 0. Whoop. But you have to move the playback head back to the beginning and then adjust it down to 0. You can see 0, 100, and then when I hit play. So we get a fade in. And doing a fade out would be the same kind of thing. So we could fade it in, we could fade it out. I want to, or I could insert a keyframe here and then decide I want to fade it down part way, so now it just gets quieter. Maybe I need that sound to get quieter because I want to hear some other sound. So we can now effectively shape the audio and shape its volume by adding in keyframes. And if we have transitions occurring, these blue sections here, these are transitions, then that gives us a nice quality with the sound. So it stays down. Now at this point I can insert and I click to add that keyframe, and then we go over here and bring it back up. So now we can see that I have two sections here, one that ducks it down to 46 and one that goes from 46 back to 100. So now we have these chunks, and the good part is these transitions of keyframes, you can move them. So you don't have to grab individual keyframes. Once you have a transition, you can move it. You can even copy that and paste it in. So I just paste it in. I didn't even have to keyframe it, so I can copy paste that transition. So I now made it duck down. Copy that one. Side right here, I want it to come back. Paste it in. Now it goes back up. So these transitions of keyframes, you can copy and paste them, which is actually a pretty good time-saving technique if you take advantage of it.